Hey, good morning, everyone. This is Bryan Wagner, Chief Architect of Prodigio RTS. Thanks for joining me today, everyone. We're going to give you another rundown about all the brand new and exciting features for the latest release of Prodigio, Release 4.0. Today, we're going to kind of focus on all of the elaborate features available inside of Trade Order and also Active Trader, because these are the real gems of the release. Some of these scanning tools are so powerful that they can completely change the way that you look at active trading, or just swing or portfolio management based trading, etc. These tools are extremely powerful, and they were designed in order to do a lot of batch functionality to scan the broad market for a multitude of various indicators. And what I'm really excited to show you today is I was actually running through some ideas with Peter Reznicek of Shadow Trader, and we were talking about all the really cool things that you can scan for to kind of find opportunities in the market. So again, we're going to split today's presentation into two parts. We're going to look at TradeVision, and we're going to look at the new Active Trader, which is really cool. It's extremely lit, extremely fast, and we're very proud of what we've been able to deliver. My name is Bryan Wagner. I am the Chief Architect of Prodigio RTS. We have this chat in the Prodigio chat room every Wednesday, 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 11 o'clock Central. And we go over various aspects of active and auto trading, using and taking advantage of the Prodigio trading platform in order to automate trade ideas, find signals and present them to you inside of Trade Optics, and how to develop robotic and automated strategies. We're very excited about this most recent release because a lot of refinements have been made to the engine. It is more accurate than ever. We have worked exclusively on all aspects of the system, from the data feeds all the way down to data management, and it's been a very long build. We've been at this for several months, and we've pretty much optimized every aspect of the system. We've gone through everything, and we've worked out a lot of the kinks, and we're very proud to be able to present this version. Join us on Twitter, twitter.com/wizardlab, and our home on the web, www.prodigiorts.net. In order to get Prodigio, the first thing you have to do is request activation by sending an email into support@thinkorswim.com. Request Prodigio activation. You'll get a launch icon on your Thinkorswim platform, and that'll launch Prodigio as a separate process, and your Prodigio trading is completely linked to your Thinkorswim trading account. So request activation, you'll be good to go. And any questions, send them in to prodigio@thinkorswim.com. You can also join us here in the chat during the day, where people talk about strategies and etc. And there's usually somebody representative from our team in there to answer questions. Okay, so that said, let's start taking a look at this TradeVision. And I'm really excited to demonstrate the performance of this scanning system. Now I've got my order book. What I've done is I've docked this to the south side. We kind of got rid of one of the options that we had in layout. Basically any panel you can drag and drop now. We made everything kind of this advanced layout. It makes it much easier to kind of manage things, and any panel that you see, you can really just drag it, and what it does is it gives me kind of a clue as to where it's going to drop. So this order book, I wanted this in the south side, so I just drag it to the south side of this TradeVision, and it's going to drop it right in place. For example, I can bring it up to the top by putting my mouse cursor fairly high at the top, and that would change the position of my order book. That's going to come into play later when we take a look at the Active Trader. Right, so I'm just going to hide this for now. I'm going to pin it off to the side so that you can see the scanning system available in TradeVision. So we're going to start at the very front end of the panel, and the way that this works is that you basically select a symbol set that you're going to perform the scan on, and you can select all symbols. This actually gives you access to scanning functionality on the complete universe available from our data provider, and this is the real major enhancement in this version over prior versions. This scanning system is a very powerful tool that allows you to scan not just a collection of symbols. That's what's available in Wizard Lab when you craft your own scripted type of strategies. Now again, Wizard Lab requires no scripting. It's completely drag and drop. But what the TradeVision does is it supplements the very fine-grained power of Wizard Lab so that you can perform broad market scanning. And this scanner is, in our opinion, more powerful than anything else that is out there. So the philosophy is you select your symbol list. You can go off of all symbols, and you'll see when I do that, it kind of increases my matches and then kind of filters down that list according to my parameters. Right? So I've got 750 matches according to, I have only 2 filters selected right now. And you can see the counts in 2 places. Up top, it shows you what options are actually selected on your scanner, but also there's a little numerical number next to each one of these tabs that shows you how many things are selected. So I've got some reasonable price and average volume requirements. I want things greater than $25, and I want an average volume of at least 540,000 shares traded per day. So let's go back. I can filter back down to, say, NYSE. I can add in some things such as NASDAQ, Amex, and ETFs. A lot of these kind of overlap, but you can see that I can kind of expand my result set by selecting different lists to scan off of. So it's very simple. You start with your symbol set that you want to perform the scan on, and then you filter down. You basically drill down based on combinations of price scans, technical studies, patterns, and fundamental analysis, which, by the way, is one of the huge improvements in this version, is that Prodigio now gives you access to a plethora of fundamental scanning abilities. And we're going to get into that in a little bit. But I want to talk strategy here for a moment, because that was what was suggested. One thing that you can notice is that we built this, and this is what gets me so excited about the system. We built this system to optimize the function, right? So these scan results return in real time, right? This is not, it's not a system that scans and then you don't get results for another 5 minutes or something like that. These scans happen in real time, and there's various ways that this work. But when I'm changing my parameters based on price and volume, we've found ways to kind of break the problem down into its fundamental components, and we have kind of a multi-tiered system that delivers you the results in real time, right? So you can see here that if I change my price, filters here, this kind of changes the number of matches that I get. So if I toggle this down, and these thumbs, as we call them, they're really the min and the max range for the scanners. I can look at, increase my average volume to give me things that, for example, give me more trading opportunity on the day. And if I do that, if I increase the average volume, more popular stocks are obviously going to come up in here. Also ETFs and things that simply trade more often. So what I want to do in working with the systems, I want to start with some reasonable thresholds. Right? So I'm giving myself some price and average volume filters. On my price, I'm saying take the left thumb, and I'm going to start at stocks that are around $25, and I can actually go drop this here. I'll put this at 23, right? And the right-hand thumb is pegged to the right, and that simply means give me everything else, right? You notice it says greater than $300 per share. The average volume, I have that pegged to the right as well. That's giving me results that are greater than 10 million shares per day on average. And all of the descriptions for how these things work are available in the description box. If I hover over average volume, I can actually click here and it'll kind of lock the description in place. It tells me specifically what it's finding. So this filters symbols by their average volume. Average volume is calculated over a 3-month period, right? So these scanning results, they already have kind of the optimal parameters set according to information we get from our data feed providers, information we get from our fundamental data sources, etc. This is all set up so it's laid out in front of you, and you can very quickly and rapidly manipulate it. And let's kind of use this system now to look for some things. Right, so as I mentioned, I was talking with Peter before, and he was showing me all the really cool things that you could do with this. I mean, he was showing me, which was really awesome, because over here when we develop the software, we want to make this as potent as possible, so that by the time it gets in the hands of the professional trader can really just run with it. And if you have a tool that the professional active day trader gets really excited about, then you have a powerful tool which is it's really valuable to you regardless of your trading style. So no matter if you're managing a portfolio, or if you're a swing trader, or if you are an active day trader, this tool is extremely powerful and can augment various aspects of your trading. So one of the first things that he showed me was that let's consider this market, and it's pretty bearish. It's fairly bearish. It's not a giant down day, but I look at my market indices and I see my percent changes are all very bearish. Everything's down by maybe around 0.5%. So it's not a huge down day, but it's pretty bearish. And he was showing me that one of the interesting things to look for on a down day is to find stocks that are generating new 52-week highs. And those are very interesting because what you have is you have kind of the general direction of the market in the bearish direction. But let's take a look for stocks that are reaching new 52-week highs today. So I select this new 52-week highs, and it reduces my symbol list result, right? And remember, this system is all a system of drilling down. I kind of want to find the opportunity. So I start wide and I kind of drill down based on condition, and I'm looking at things that are reaching new 52-week highs today. I've got 30 matches, right? And so let's just, take a look at one of these, put it on a chart, and look at the dailies. So here's something that's very interesting, right? This is actually Herbalife, and this is reaching a new 52-week high on a day that's relatively bearish. Right now, this really provides you with something that's really the needle in the haystack kind of opportunity. It's something that's extremely interesting, and actually, I think I'm going to defer to the expert on his thoughts on this. So joining me right now is Peter. And he's actually going to kind of maybe help shed some light on why it's so interesting to look at things that are reaching new 52-week highs on something that's kind of a bearish day.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
When you said, it was funny when you said expert, I started looking around. I thought somebody else was going to come in. I was like, are you going to, is it? What we can do is put on a chart like ESH2. And so obviously, guys, this is like the first time that we've started to break in a while, right? You guys are probably getting my tweets from this morning talking about the profile in the ES and saying, we could repair lower to 1355-ish, and now we're actually 1.5 below that or whatever. So what Bryan is saying makes complete sense, but you want to also expand on that and kind of work it both ways. Like Bryan just showed you examples of using like that 52-week high to see stocks that are bucking the trend. If those of you that trade with the intraday trend, you might be looking for stuff like at the low of the day or whatever. One of the things that I look for, that I like to do, is I like to use a scanner and compare basically what's going on in the market today, right? And get a feel for what type of action it is. And so, for instance, like up until about a half hour ago, and we didn't break that much, mind you, right? I mean, the lows where the market couldn't move away from was like 56 or whatever, right? Okay, but knowing that, it should be obvious to you that sellers have not been able to get a foothold in this market. And even today, it's like pulling teeth to get them to go lower. And there was a lot of opportunities today, intraday, where we were very range bound and had rotational trade in the ES, and we kept constantly touching support level 55, 75, 56 and running hard, right? And then we also know that 59.75 was very, very key, because it's the same exact thing that I tweeted before the market, right? Before the market even opened, I told you guys 59.50, 59.50-ish is going to be very, very important, and then that 59.75 was the high of the day for a while. The point I'm trying to make is that you ascertain very early that you may have rotational market, correct? If you know you're going to have rotational market and there's going to be hard pushes off of either side, right? And especially put it together with your internals, you know that you had master sector list today was completely mixed, etc. A tool like this TradeVision becomes very, very powerful on a day like that, because right off the bat, you know, okay, this ES is coming up to this area 59.75. I'm very confident it's not going to fall back, right? So Bryan could, he could jump to, say, patterns and look at, say, some inverted hammer right at that area, or trading at the high of the day, and you have confidence that it's not going to basically break through, so you throw a short out against it, and that's the thing, is that because a lot of people don't trade futures, and they're always asking me, like, how can I take advantage of these moves? Well, this is one of the ways that you can take advantage of these moves, is if you have your, for instance, Bryan, we could do like an easy basic scan, right? Like look at a basic and take everything else off, and let's look at like really high price stocks. Like, you can even leave the volume the way it is. And I also want to mention, is which I talked about in my part 1 video of this, how really, really powerful this is, that it's all dynamic, that there's no, hit a button that says scan now or whatever. Like, you guys see when Bryan's hitting the buttons, he just hit the average volume, etc. You can see how the matches number keeps changing, so it's constantly updating in real time. So volume is fine, like 500,000 a day, but if we hit the price and we go, let's go real expensive, like let's move that left slider up and let's go like $200 plus. I notice how it's getting lower. Okay, great. So notice that we only find these 6 stocks, right? Well, if I was using a rotational strategy and looking to trade against key levels in the ES and say, okay, the ES will not break above 1360-ish, and it's going to bounce at the 56-ish, which we saw multiple times today back and forth, right? As a day trader, if I wasn't trading ES, the first thing I would do is I would pull up these stocks, show me stocks greater than $200, because I know that in that rotational trade, that $300 stock is not going to break out, and when the ES hits that resistance, that $300 stock is going to fall back $2. So there's money to be made there. So we could then further, for instance, like click on any of those, just click on the load trade on any of those patterns, right, on the load thing. And for instance, like look at Google let's look at on a 15-minute, Bryan. Let's look at, switch to like an intraday pattern on a Google, right? Okay, so look at today, right? As soon as the market was struggling and it couldn't get higher, notice that Google at the 614, how hard it fell down. So you have, like a $5 move there, which may be more profitable depending, if you've got the buying power than doing ES or whatever, And that's just a super, super simple scan. But as the market is coming right up to those levels, maybe you might be looking for, some sort of a pattern to develop. You might be switching to, say, you can show on the patterns in the TradeVision. TradeVision, go to patterns. Maybe you're going on a 5-minute. We're probably not going to find very much now. Because our universe is only 6 stocks. But we can try. Obviously, we can expand the universe.
We were looking at lower lows before.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So what were we looking at? 3 or I guess the 5, right?
Right, but we're going to have to probably expand our universe, because remember, we're only dealing with 6 stocks. We've got a very tight basic going on.
See, I noticed that Google shows up because when I was looking at that chart,
mm-hmm.
we actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lower lows
mm-hmm.
in the completed bars. So
yeah, exactly.
It's kind of cool.
And what's the CMG? The CMG has 3 lower lows as well, and that's on the 15-minute, right?
Yep.
Okay, so there you go.
So now, one of the things is you could expand it on that as well. You can go back and make it less restrictive.
Mm-hmm. We can hit so Bryan's saying we can go to price, make it less restrictive, pull back, say 154. We should have more, right? There we go. And notice that there's only 22 matches, and this is really interesting because notice that we didn't uncheck the patterns, right? So right off the bat, you might be thinking, how can it be only 22 stocks? Aha, but click on the patterns. Leave it the way it is, and look, it's only stocks that have the lower lows on the 15-minute bar that have 3 down. So that's pretty interesting. And remember that as you're looking at these charts, if you can, Bryan, mouse over this here. Remember, this particular bar here that Bryan has highlighted, that's the current bar that's forming right now dynamically. So that one doesn't count, right? That is not a lower low. It's what the Prodigio system is doing is it's looking back on which bars are completed. So it's got 15-minute bar completed before that. But don't be don't be confused that if you see that the current bar is not making a lower low, that's not what it is. So that's the other thing that's powerful about a dynamic scanning system is similar to how when I trade ES and I look for patterns, a lot of times I'll be working on a 5-minute bar, right? And I use a simple tool which is called a clock. literally, like you guys don't even realize how powerful that is. And you see that, for instance, a big body is forming. And I know that if that big body forms, like I tweeted this the other day, remember where I talked about the big body forming, and I said if the big body engulfs and takes out 3 or 4 bars that went down, and then the big body goes up, there's a buy point there, right? So I showed you guys pictures saying, look, here's the big body, and then the market ran 2 ES points higher than the big body after it took out the 3 small bars. Well, when I'm doing that and I'm looking for that, a lot of times I'm watching the clock constantly because I want to know if that bar is forming and it's 4 minutes and 45 seconds, I've got a good chance that bar is going to form and it's really going to be that big body. But if it's 2 minutes after the 5-minute bar opened up, well, then there's not much to talk about. I just have to sit there and wait. So it's the same thing with the dynamic scanner. What's really cool about this is that, Brian, if you go back to the results, TradeVision, right? See how there's the 22 matches? This will change dynamically every 15 minutes. So again, simply just kind of, yeah, so let's say
whatever you're looking at.
Or whatever you're looking at, right? So let's just say that this was definitely your scan, like you J-Trade, and you're always a buyer of 3 lower lows. Well, you've got to and you got it on 15-minute. Well, you have to watch the clock because every 15 minutes this list will change because it's going to advance 1 bar and see what's going on with, with the prior 3 15-minute bars. And that's really cool that you don't have, that it's always doing it by the clock every bar close, and you don't have to, you don't have to hit refresh scan or load scan or scan now or anything like that,
It's also important to keep in mind. Anything based on price movement it's quite literally tick for tick. It's as soon as the data arrives, it updates the scan. So like Peter's saying, if you're looking for kind of bar patterns or things based on bars, like some of the technical analysis studies, watch the clock, and every 5 minutes when the bar rolls over, that's going to update your list automatically, so you don't have to kind of wait for anything. Right. But if you're just using basic price and volume types of filters, they're going to update instantly. So they're just going to keep updating. If you have a limit and you say, I only want to see stocks that are trading above $30, the moment something dips below that 30, it's gone off the list, because it's updating constantly. Mm-hmm. So you always in front of you have a list of things that are consistently meeting your criterion, and you can think about ways that you can kind of widen out or drill down, and you can kind of hop between different strategies of opportunity in the market that you're looking for. So yeah, we were looking at lower lows before. I take that off, and that kind of, it expands me back out to my criterion of the other things that I'm looking for. Right. So we had a couple other ideas as well, right? When we were looking at some other patterns related to the market move, bar patterns going up and going down. There was something about combining the hammers with lower lows. Was that correct?
Yeah, you can do that. You can certainly do that, right? I mean, tell them how all the patterns are combinable.
Yeah. You want to talk about that?
I mean, all the patterns are obviously combinable, so we can just keep adding to it. So, like, if you have that 22 lower lows, let's say you don't want to buy the lower low unless you get some sort of a reversal bar. So you can do, like, let's say there was hammer, right? And we should be able to even put hammer 5-minute, right? Mm-hmm. Right. Okay, so
let's expand our price events to give us some more results.
Okay. Right.
So let's take a look at anything.
So you've got to change that now to 5-minute.
Because remember, one's looking for 15-minute lower lows.
Right.
And my other scan was looking for a 5-minute hammer.
Bingo.
Right. So here's my little 5-minute hammer, and that joins the lower lows on the 15-minute.
Right. So this is really cool. See how you put them together. Now you've got 3 lower lows on the 15-minute. So on the longer time frame, there's probably a very good chance that the stock is overextended to the downside. But I want to be sure, so I want to see a reversal bar on the short time frame. And this would probably be a great day trade long. Like if you click back to that 5-minute, and I'll show you something, Brian. Yep. Look at the 5-minute, right? The lows here are completely equal. The stock is having a very hard time getting through the 43.55. And if we change this to SPY, all right, look what's happening in the market. All right, the market's lifted already off of the lows. Looking at that pattern, going into lunch, I'd be pretty confident it's probably not going lower. Now, obviously, it's 12:24 p.m. Eastern. I wouldn't be doing a day trade right now, but I'm showing you live how I would be thinking about this if it was prime time, 10:30 in the morning. Okay, market's down. I know the ES is going to find support here. I'm using my profile. I'm day trading ES anyway. I know we're going to be at support here. You're listening to Brad. Brad is telling you, okay, this level is going to be key, 13.55, whatever. It's going to be, we're going to get a bounce here. Okay, what stocks are going to turn around? Okay, let's go. Let's look at, and for instance, Brian just picked a simple example. Yep. 3 15-minute bars, each making lower lows, and at the same time, they better be making a 5-minute hammer. or whatever, you know. So let's go back to that list. Let's look at some of those. Let's look at, you know, CEF at the bottom. Same thing, right?
So
looks good.
5.
That's a 5, right? So there's your hammer on the 5, you know. So it's
this will come out of the list because we just rolled over.
Right, exactly. Now now also remember that as you mix and match and you add more things to your scans, right? You're obviously going to get less and less results, but that's cool because you're finding that needle in a haystack. So you want to, you know, it's fun. You want to play around with this and add as many things as you want, and maybe that only gives 2 or 3 signals, and maybe it even only gives 2 or 3 signals per day. But as I've always taught, you know, day trading is really a lot about watching and waiting. It's not about doing. It's about watching and waiting and making sure that that opportunity is just right. It's the exact one I want, and that's it. You know, maybe you have your scan set very tight, and on any given day it might give you 1 signal. But you're very confident that when that 1 signal occurs, you're like, that's it. That's my pattern. That's my baby. I know that when I see that pattern, when all these planets align, I take that trade, you know.
Exactly. So
it's cool. It's fun. It's fun. I'm going to give this to Bryan. I'm going to sit here next to Bryan. I'm going to give this to Bryan over here in this particular studio when we only have 1 mic. But I'll still continue to look at some of this stuff over his shoulder and whatever he's looking at in terms of different scans and whatnot.
that's great. The next thing I wanted to talk about is maybe some of the price events and the technical studies. Because, well, first of all, one of the things that's really cool, and I was very impressed that you know, the team was able to kind of put these together. A lot of these kind of fib pullbacks and bounces are something that I find really cool to look at. And I know, you know, Peter was involved in this as well, but they kind of made all the definitions for how this system would work. And before I get into this, let me kind of expand my set a little bit by taking off some of these. By the way, you can always reset your conditions. If you hit this button over here, that's going to kind of open everything back up again. So we're going to take a look at some of, you know, maybe some of these pullbacks. And I just want to kind of demonstrate how some of these work. So as we mentioned before, today is kind of like a moderate down day, right? And Peter mentioned that some of the things are kind of maybe pulling back off the lows a little bit. So we can actually look at some of these fib levels pulling back from the low. And I'm going to start with maybe the very first one. And I want to explain to you how this works. These percentages represent the Fibonacci levels. And I kind of talked a little bit about that last week, but fib numbers are basically based off of a sequence that happens naturally in nature. And what they are is, it's basically nature's ruler. It's nature's measuring stick about how things kind of line up, and it shows up a lot in things just naturally. The first thing I want you to notice is you see this number of matches changing dynamically. The reason why this is changing is because a lot of these results are coming in and out of this range. I'm looking for pullbacks, bounces from the low. And so let's grab one of these, and let's just like plot one of these, for example, just to see one of these symbols as it happens. And what's happening is it's looking at the low of the day. And this low of the day would have happened early on. This would have happened at 29.41. And because I'm looking for a Fibonacci retracement from the low, exactly, and I can actually draw this on here. And I did this last week. This is really cool. Inside the Fibonacci, right? The way that you do this is you plot low to high. Right, so here's the low. I want to click on the low value, and I want to plot to the high, which is, it's one of these two, but it's going to be close enough. That actually plots the Fibonacci retracements from the low to the high. And here's your percentages once more. This is 23% from the low. It's the other way around. Exactly, it's flipped around the other way because I'm in the bearish direction.
Yeah, but I'm just saying you should go from high to low, and because you're looking at bounce.
Oh, that's right. That's right. So I can actually, I believe I can right-click on this. I can delete it.
Yeah, you need to go the other way.
I got to actually just drag it the other way. So if I go to my Fibonacci retracement, I can go top down to low, and it's going to snap.
See, we bounce here to here to here, right?
Exactly. So the way this works with the fib retracements is we give it a buffer, we give it padding. So you see how the price, it's oscillating around this level right now. Well, it wouldn't make sense to give you a scan where it says that the price has to equal this Fibonacci level exactly, right? Because that scan would only give you the symbol if it, right now, that's 29.51.
And for a second, right?
Exactly. It would come in for a split second. And we actually noticed this when we were kind of tweaking the parameters. If they were too tight, the stock will literally come into the list for like a split second and then it's gone. So you want to give yourself kind of a buffer. And the way that we did this is based on percentage of, I believe it's the day range. That's right, because it matches the Fibonacci range. And that'll be set in the definition. But this allows you to go into TradeVision and tweak this range so that I can make it fairly loose or fairly tight. Right? So I can kind of make this tight, and when I make this tighter, less things show up in my symbol set. Right? And when that happens, it basically means I'm looking for things that are exactly at that Fibonacci level.
Or within
within this
3/4 of 1%.
Exactly. So if I kind of move this out to 1% below and 1% above, that's simply going to give me things that have retraced up to 1% of that threshold level. Right? So I can draw another one on this chart, which this is a different chart, grab my levels, go from high to low. Right? And so it's this price, exactly, when it's 1% around this Fibonacci level, it's going to show up in my scan results. And this is extremely useful, for example, if you're looking for pullbacks. There's a number of ways to look for pullbacks, and we just kind of discussed how you could combine maybe a trend with like a hammer reversal, and you could even combine different intervals together. This is another technique that a lot of traders use, is the Fib levels, and you can be notified by setting this as a trade optics an active TradeVision scan, that when the price reaches this level, you want to be notified of this. So that's something that I find really cool, because you can kind of enable and disable these. You can make them wider, make them loose, etc. And it's so easy. You don't have to worry about the math. And that's something that you would have had to do in Wizard Lab before. You would have had to kind of calculate the math on this. Here it's just one button click and you've got it. And you can make this as loose or as tight as really the range that you're looking for. So these pullbacks and bounces, there's something really cool. I'm not going to go into things like gainers and losers. They're self-explanatory, but just think about how you could combine all of these things together. If you're looking for something that's pulling back, but you want it to be significant, then the percent from loss from the open would have to be a kind of high number, right? If you want a significant move and a pullback. So you could combine these really according to any way that you could possibly think about. And so these are extremely useful, as we showed before, when you're looking for things that are reaching new 52-week highs, new 52-week lows, etc. They're extremely significant events. But there's also things that are really cool, like 2-day high and 2-day low. And a 2-day high is going to give me something that, if I look at the daily chart, is going to give me something that within the last 2-day period, it's kind of breaking above the high here. And that's really useful for looking at kind of micro trends or any other kind of pattern setups that you could possibly think about with that as well. It's just an easy twist of the mic.
Yeah. This is Peter again. The Fib thing, I was just watching over Bryan's shoulder as he was doing the Fib thing. Guys, think about how often we talk about in Squawk with Brad or myself the 61.8 Fib and how powerful it is. And a lot of times, like I've gotten so many emails where people are like, I got your tweet, and you said that there was going to be support in the ES at like this exact number, and it went down to it to the penny. How did you know that? Guys, it's like very often a 50% or a 61.8 level. That's the most important thing. So for instance, let's go back to charts and let's look at SPY. Let's look at what the market's doing right now. Chart Trader Pro. Let's see SPY. That's daily. We need to see 15-minute. Okay, so let's think this through. Like, again, lunchtime. So you probably, you wouldn't be doing anything now anyway. But let's say, for instance, you're bearish and you think the market's going lower in the afternoon. So I would be thinking that some stocks that are trading like rotationally, like we were saying with the ES, or that have that have a lot of beta and have good bounce to them, right? Wouldn't it make sense that you could probably find stocks when you thought the market was going to turn lower that maybe it had bounced and retraced 38.2 or 50%, just that much of the day's range, and look for those. Another thing, on the other hand, is let's say if we were in a much more bullish day than this, one of the things I would be looking for immediately, and we can even see if this comes up with anything, although it's a relatively bearish day, so I don't know. But let's go to basic, and let's let's bring, that's $20. Let's see, what's turned on? The price, turn off the price event. So go to price events. No, just the price events. Let's go to price events. Let's turn that off for now. And let's go back to basic. Notice we're starting with this universe of like 1,000 stocks. And let's go to price events now. And let's look at go up, go up, go up. Let me see, go down. No, I'm looking for like, let's find the 2-day highs, right? Let's see, 2-day highs. New 52-week highs today showed us how many stocks? 40 stocks. Okay, that's cool. That's a good thing to do. So let's say it's a bullish day. New 52-week highs usually go higher, right? So we have our universe. We start with 900 stocks, and we say, what stocks are making new 52-week high today? If it was a bullish day, and I would be looking for pullbacks to buy, right? I'd be looking for any weakness in the ES to buy, and more importantly, I'd be looking for stocks to buy. But if I did, I'd be looking for Fib retracements on really strong stocks. I mean, how often have you guys seen a stock on the day it makes a new 52-week high, it makes a huge run-up, new 52-week high, and then there's a pullback, but the pullback is really large, or it looks large to you, but it never even goes to the low of the day. All the stock is doing very often is just coming in 61.8% from its low to high, whatever. So let's say that we know we have those 52-week highs. Let's go a little bit lower. And let's say, let's go to zone 1. See the zones, volume spikes in zones? Remember, what's zone 1, zone 2, zone 3? Zone 1 is trading in the upper third of the range. Zone 2 is trading in the middle third of the range. And zone 3 is trading in the lower third of the range. So now I've tightened it even further. I say this, not only does the stock have to be trading a 52-week high, but it's got to be sitting up in zone 1, right? So right off the bat, we can look at some of these patterns. And again, we're pretending this is a bullish day. So MasterCard, awesome, sitting up at the high of the day, could go higher, right? Let's go back to TradeVision. Any of these is fine, you know. Very close to the high of the day. Again, so maybe I could set an alert there and say, look, if we go to that 91.50 on CLR, and again, if this was a bullish day, right? But again, it's all about this sort of needle in a haystack thing. Let's go back to TradeVision and let's go back to those price events, and we can look at some of those pullbacks and see if any of these really strong stocks are pulling back. We can go to that Fib number, and yeah, we can do, yeah, exactly.
There's 61. There's also 38.
Right.
We might want to look for 38.
Okay, so none of them
are in that range.
None of them are in that range right now, right? How about the 23.6? You know, the 23.6. Okay, some of them have pulled back, so you can see these have pulled back just a tiny bit.
Yep.
Right.
It's pulled back.
Right. But just a tiny bit. So right off the bat tells me very, very strong. And if I click to a daily, I like the pattern on the daily. The daily is indicative to me that it could go higher, you know. And I hope that when you guys are listening to this, you're also thinking in terms of longer term trading. Do you realize that as you're doing this, whether you're day trading or not, let's say you're not day trading, but you're unearthing the possibilities of what can be done for longer term trades. I can't tell you how many times I've found things using intraday scanners. And that's why I think this scanner is really amazing. I think that this is going to take the Squawk Box show to a whole nother level, because Brad is going to be using this during the day and finding all sorts of patterns and stuff for intraday trading and also for overnight trading. But remember that what I was trying to say is that very, very often when you're looking at stuff for intraday trading, it's stocks that you never heard of, and then you end up finding something that works for a longer term trade and you didn't even know. Like, you had no idea. Like, oh, I've never even heard of this company. Oh, it came up on my scan because I was looking for, you know, 3 15-minute bars, lower lows, and I wanted to see a hammer on the 5, and I wanted it to be whatever. I wanted it to be in zone 1 as well, on the top of the range. And then all of a sudden you realize, like, oh wow, on the daily chart this stock is down 7 days in a row into strong support. I think I'm going to buy this for a swing trade as well. I'm going to leave this trade on for a swing. I'm not even going to take this as a day trade. I'm going to swing it, you know. So, yeah, it's exciting. It's powerful. So this is a really cool tool that they've developed, and I think it's only going to get more and more powerful.
So another thing I wanted to do is I kind of wanted to show off how the technical studies work a little bit, and I just wanted to put up here maybe just an exponential moving average or something like that, because one of the things that you could do is basically I mean, there's a lot of technical studies available here in the scans themselves, and there's things that look at, I talk a lot about Bollinger Bands, I talk a lot about ATRs, Keltner channels, and that's all in here, RSIs, etc. You can be scanning the entire universe for things that match your specific criterion of what you're looking for at the moment. And the easiest one to think about is, let's say, a 50-period exponential moving average. And dailies are very useful, so I'll just pull some on the daily. And you have an option here that when you scan, you can find things that are above or below, right? And so now look what's going on here. If I go back up to my description of things that are selected, I'm asking for a new 52-week high, right? So if I ask for, remember, an exponential moving average, it's just an average price over the last 50 days, averaged exponentially. That's all it is. If I ask for a 50-period EMA, if I'm getting a new 52-week high, there's a good chance it's going to be above the 50-period EMA. And notice that kind of makes sense. If I ask for things that are below the 50-period EMA, it's given me 0 results because none of those are making a 52-week high. So you can kind of use the technicals in this as well, and there's 2 cool things that you can do with this. So let's just take a look at something. I saw, this is here we go. INTU right here. That's up a lot. So that's up very significantly. I can put up here an exponential. And I can change these parameters, right? So I'm looking at a 50 period on the dailies, right? And I always like to do this. I like to go into standard indicators, make it something nice and thick to look at. Let's see here. All right, so there's my 50-period exponential moving average, and you can see that it's clearly been above this for quite a while. You can scan anything in the system based on the technicals, and what's even cooler is this is one of the huge features that we've added. This was one of our big requirements in the latest build, and it's actually a lot of work to kind of get this in because it's so dynamic. I actually right-clicked on my table header. Right? Actually, let me do that slower just so everybody sees what I'm doing. If I take my mouse cursor and I go to the table header, that's where it's got all the names of the columns. If I right-click here, I've got a new option called Customize Quotes. And this is applicable to any of the tables that are available in Prodigio, the quotes, the quick quotes, everything. You can customize the table, and the list of options that you have for columns is dramatic. And this is something that's much larger than we've ever had in the system before. And there's 2 kinds of things that you can add. And I wanted to demonstrate, we put in an EMA, right? So if I filter on EMA, I just type that in there. That's going to give me any column that even mentions the word EMA, right? So here I've got exponential moving average. I can either click Add Column, or I like to drag it because I can just drop it in line, right? And so I'm going to put EMA, right? And I can tweak the parameters of that EMA in the lower right-hand corner with column parameters. Now I was doing a daily scan of 50 periods, so I can just change that to 50. I want to apply it to the closing price. You can change what adapter you want it to be applied to. And I want to see values updating in real time, so I'm going to keep forming bar on. Forming bar is going to either run the numbers off of the, we talked about before, that bar that's forming or the bar that's already closed. So it just depends on what you want to look at. Do you want it to be looking at the current day or not? You know what, I'm just going to leave it on, and I'm going to add that. And what that'll do is that'll actually plug it into my table, and I've got all of the exponential moving averages. And you can see on Intuit here, the last price, 61.89, you know, that's greater than 55.81. And what's really cool, and we built this into the paging system, is that you can sort on any of these columns. Right? And this is probably an underrated feature which you're going to realize is extremely powerful. I can sort based on the EMAs, and I can get an ordered list of things that are basically getting above my exponential moving averages. So for example, I could maybe open this back up. I could go to my basic and make it less restrictive because I want to maybe look at some numbers and kind of give you an idea. You know, I've got, okay, 19 matches. I can sort based on exponential moving average, and you can imagine what you could do with this system. Let me show you another example. I mentioned RSIs before. If I plug in RSIs, and I could look at dailies on the RSI, or they could be anything really. If I look at a 14-period RSI applied to the close, and I plug that in, if I sort based on the RSI, it's going to give me the list of items that are at the highest range of the RSI right now. And we all know that RSI is an oscillator that when you plug into a chart goes from 0 up to 100. And it's actually going to give me a sorted list of things that are at the range in the RSI. And see what I've got here. I've got 83 on my RSI. These are all bullish stocks, right? So we're looking for things that are, trading at new 52-week highs, things that are above their 50-period EMAs. Well, if I combine that with things that are up high on their RSI, I get something extremely valuable because I know that right here, FIRE is the most relatively overbought stock right now. And if I am looking for a reversal, this might be prime opportunity for a gap reversal. Now it is, this is surging pretty heavily, so this is probably not going to reverse. Something really significant happened here. But you could see how you could put this in here. And you can definitely sort by more than one column. That's something extremely useful. If you hold the control button down, I can actually kind of sort, and anytime I get a collision, it'll sort by multiples. So one of the things I like to do is sort alphabetically and then maybe sort by RSI, but you see, like, it only is going to sort multiple if you have numbers that are equal to one another. But nevertheless, you can sort by more than one. That actually could be useful if, for example, one of the things that you could do inside all of the quote tables is build in any possible signal rule that you could think of. And the way that you do this is you build a rule in Wizard Lab. Right? So go over here in the Wizard Lab really quick, and then we're going to get on to active trader in a second. Any rule that you build inside of Wizard Lab is saved into your My Rules box. And what that means is all of these can be used in order to generate trade signals and trade optics or auto trade, etc. But every single one of these is available in the TradeVision as a scanner. Right? So I can go in here, I can scroll down, or I can collapse and expand these. But one of the toolboxes is for My Rules. And every single My Rule that's valid that I've saved shows up here. And here's that lower BB buy, and I can actually drop it right in here. And the parameter customization for this, it's something that we call signal columns. And let me just put in, say, 6, for example. It gives me a grid of 6 items which represent the state of the signals over the last 6 periods. So this lower BB buy, I forget what this was. It might be something based on 1-minute bars, etc. It's over in the definition of my Wizard Lab. But what this means is over the last 6 OHLCs, I got red means no signal, green means signal. I got a no signal, no signal, no signal, no signal, but I got a signal on this MA, and perhaps this is something that I want to look at right now. So that's something really cool. You have complete integration of Wizard Lab into the TradeVision, and that's available by adding columns of My Rules into the quote column rows. So I hope you can understand that this system is just extremely powerful, and the things that you can do with it are almost limitless. I want to talk about Active Trader, which is another huge feature inside of this platform. Active Trader is designed to give you a rapid market view of the level 2 order books and the time and sales. So what this is when I'm drilling down on a stock, and I'm looking at, say, Bank of America right now, I have a view of all of the trading activity as it happens in real time. And it provides me with the level 2 book and the time and sales. And I'm going to talk a little bit about this and how you can use this in order to optimize your fills. Right? So one of the things that I did was I actually docked my order book to the south side, and I like this view a lot. Take a look at this. I have a complete view where I have total control over my orders. Right? So let's suppose I use TradeVision to scan, and I find that there's a lot of great opportunity on Bank of America today. Let's say that's my decision. And let's say I know I want to perform some trading on Bank of America. I want to walk through with you, first of all, what this is and how you can use it. So this view, first of all, when you get this view out of the box, let me dock that back over to the side, you have 2 of these here. Right, so I've actually got a split. I've got a horizontal split, and let's say, I'm going to look at AAPL, for example. You can actually look at 2 of them at once, right? And so you can actually perform level 2 analysis on more than one stock at a time, right? And if you have a larger resolution than what I'm broadcasting with, you can really get a nice view and lay these things out. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually dock this. There's little buttons here which immediately kind of dock and undock this, and I'm going to pull out the order book and put this back here. And you'll notice that what I've got is an active traders platform, a complete, fully featured active traders platform, which is completely integrated into your thinkorswim account. On my left-hand side, I've got my level 2 book, and this shows me all of the current trading activity across all of the exchanges, right? So I've got the various bids and the various offers, and these are sorted descending by size, and I can get a feel for where the price action is at on this stock. Right, so Bank of America, it last traded at $8.01, $8.02. You can see them stream down into the time and sales view. I've got a chart on the right-hand side, and this will all work together. It basically means Bank of America is trading at about $8 right now, and the interest is at 801 by 802. There's a little bit of interest out here. Take a look at the NASDAQ, right? Look at all the size that's at 802 on this NASDAQ. Right now the NASDAQ's at, this is kind of a consolidated view. So it's called a total view for those of you who are interested or have worked with level 2 systems before. This is a total view. There's interest here pretty much right at the market. There's a little bit of interest more on the bid size, on the buy side, because you see how there's kind of price levels down here at $8. But you can watch orders come in and out of the level 2 view, and I'm going to walk through what you can do with this. Right, so the first thing that you want to do is kind of plug your symbol in, and that's going to subscribe to the data feed, and it's going to activate your platform. You can always kind of drag these sliders, and all of these sliders have the same collapse and expand functionality, so you can quickly dock or undock any of these. Right, so I've got my view, and let's just run through some examples. Right, so on Bank of America, let's get flat. Right, so I'm going to hit flatten. Right, it's going to close out of any existing positions on Bank of America, and it's going to cancel all working orders for BAC. I can go in and I can say, let's spin at, let's say, 200 shares. Notice there's under the extended view here, which expands and collapse. There's join the market on the long side and the short side. So if I click here, join 200 at market, what that did was it sent a market order in for 200 shares, and now I'm long on Bank of America at 200 shares. So I'm long, and now I can do more stuff. Let's say I want to say join the bid. Right? I click join the bid. It'll put a limit order on the bid side, which is $8.01, and I can work both sides of the book. If I want to join the ask, that's at 802. I can just click join ask, and it puts another order on the other side of the book. Now it changed since I was looking at it, but it puts both of the, oh no, I'm sorry, here's the price, 802, 801. Now I'm actually working both sides of the book at limit, and when the price crosses over onto the other side, I'm going to get another fill at that price. Right? So you can rapidly manipulate this, and because I've docked the order book, I can either cancel out by pushing the cancel button in the order book, or I can go over to, see, this is a sell order, negative 200 shares to sell. I can hit cancel sells, and that's going to get rid of the sell side of my order book. So I can very rapidly say, put some buy orders in, put some sell orders in, join the bid side of the book, join the offer side of the book, cancel out of everything, etc. It's extremely rapid. And if you want more control, you can really just go up here and you can say, I want to go in at 400 shares, right? And I want to say, I want to send a limit order at day, day time in force, and I can hit the buy. That'll send an order for 400 shares. Right? And the other thing is, notice that these working orders, they're also tied in with the chart as well. So you can use the graphical order book to kind of manipulate the orders as well. One of the things is, since this is working in at limit, right, and that might take a while to fill, let's cancel all. Let's get out of that, and let me go in at market. One of the really cool things is that I am able to do with this is, let's say, go in 400 shares, right? Now I'm actually in at 1,000 because I clicked that a bunch of times. I'm in at 1,000 shares on BAC. Let's say I want to kind of scalp the market and reverse positions back and forth, back and forth. There's a reverse button, and right now, if I look at positions, right, you can see I've got a couple other positions in here, but here's my Bank of America position. And let me actually flatten out. See these others, Ford, QQQ, Apple, and Joy G? Let me flatten these really quick because I really just want to focus on Bank of America. I'm control clicking, by the way. That's just a little shortcut that you can do. Let's pull out order management, right? Let's undock that really quickly, and let me close those 4 positions. All right, so I very rapidly got out of those positions. And let me go over, this is also a paper money account, so I've got Joy G there just sticking around. Let's dock that over to the side. Right? You can always clear out your paper money account if you go over to Thinkorswim, and if you kind of reset the account, that'll kind of clear that for you, but that's kind of why that's sticking around in there for me. I've got Bank of America. Let's go back to Active Trader. Right? I can reverse this, and what that'll do is it'll work the orders, right? And it'll go in. Now I've got 1,000 shares short. Right? So I just went from the long side to the short side. Now remember, positions in Prodigio and the Thinkorswim platform, you can only have one position per symbol, right? You can't be long and short at the same time. That just doesn't work. I've heard of other people doing this where they have multiple accounts and they're long on one and short on the other, but it's just a common convention. I think like there's a lot of compliance that's involved as well, but really you're long or you're short on a position, right? And those are the rules. So what's really convenient about this is that you can harness the power of going on both sides of the market, right? So I'm short now 1,000 shares, and you can see that down here, and I can reverse this, and now I'm long again 1,000 shares. Right? So I can just keep going in and out, and it's just extremely useful to be able to do that. Now let's say I want to work this, and maybe I want to sell half the position. Right? I'm long 1,000 shares. I can click this position button, and it will auto-load the quantity with the size of my position at 1,000 shares. Let me cut this in half and sell it. That put a limit order to sell, which happened to fill immediately, and notice now I'm long 500 shares. Now I'm going really fast, and that's on purpose. You can use this system to trade faster than you've probably ever dreamed. You can really just, at the push of a button, do things that in some systems would require multiple decisions to be made. Now I am, granted, taking advantage of this auto send feature. That's just a checkbox. If that's unchecked and if I hit buy, it's going to give you a confirmation window, right? And you can do various things with this. You can send it, or I can just say, yeah, don't do it, hit the delete button. I don't want to send the order. Auto send really controls whether or not that prompt is activated. So that's all that is. And one more really cool thing that you can do with this is that we've got these kind of OCO type of orders that kind of send all at the same time. So let's say I want to send a type of bracketed order, right? I check off target and stop. And what this means is it's going to place a target order 10 cents above and a stop order 10 cents below my position, right? And that will be basically, if I'm long, it'll be in the correct direction. If I'm short, it'll be in the correct direction. So you really don't have to think about it. You just have to say 10 cents up, 10 cents down. If I send, that's called a TTS order, target, trail, and stop. I push that and see what happens here. I've got my my bracketed order, right? So I'm long, I've got my sell stop and my sell target. I'm long at, and let's see the fill price, $8.02. So what it did was it put a stop at $7.92 and a target at $8.12. That's going to work. You see these here on my graphical order book, and that's going to be out there. And I don't want to change that order. I just want to drag this down. That's going to work out here on my graphical order book, and I can either change the orders in line, right? I can kind of send these, and that's going to kind of update them. I made them tighter, right? Let me actually make the stop 12 cents down, right? So now I'm at 7.90 and 8.10, and if I don't like the way that they're set up, I can just drag them on the visual order book and change it. And you see that changed my stop order, and now that's tighter. So there's a million and one things that you can do with this. It's really cool, and it's very rapid and designed for the active trader. And really it takes advantage of the extremely robust order processing systems that Thinkorswim has and their infrastructure. It's just a really tight and rapid system. So I encourage you strongly, check out the Active Trader tab. It's really cool, and you can really somebody in the chat mentioned trading like a ninja. I use that expression a lot, actually. It makes me feel like a ninja. So I thought I'd end on a humorous note. But those are the major features to showcase in the new platform. Again, I can't emphasize enough that this customized quotes is available here. There's a button on the quotes view that you can go in. You can change this. You can really change any of these parameters, and I just love this. If I want to look at, I talk a lot about kind of linear regression slope. If you're a math head, you're going to love this. I plug this in here and put it down at, say, 5-minute intervals, forming bar on. Apply to, you don't even have to apply to the close. You could apply to typical price, which is HLC3. Bump it up to 20 periods, and you'll see that jump right in as soon as everything processes. And I can kind of flip out my symbol lists, so I can do this on, say, the S&P 100. Right? And that's going to plug that in. And like I said, I like to sort on this. So if I sort descending, that's showing me everything that's going up right now based on a 20-period linear regression. And you see that's going up. And of course, you got to look for support and resistance and things like that. And Peter talks a lot about the pullbacks, extremely important. Look at how easy I found stocks that are going up. Right? It's that simple. Here's Walgreens. I like that symbol WAG. Right? In the last 20 periods, it's up according to the linear regression line, right? See the value. It's actually a little bit low, but according to this linear regression slope, it's up. We didn't talk a lot about the heat map, but there's also a heat map view in here. It's pretty cool. It's very basic right now. We plan on expanding it in the future, but it presents to you a grid view of things that are kind of moving up and down, and you could sort by percent change and ascending, descending, and change the size, etc. This is kind of very basic right now, but we actually have this tied in with the same system that generates the values for the quote. There, that's available. But again, this integration into the quote table, huge feature. Integration with the fundamentals. All these fundamentals are here, right? So if I look at the dividend yield, right? And if I want to sort by dividend yield, I just plug in my dividend yield. It goes and it fetches the data that it needs, goes to the server, pulls the data, and I want to find all the stocks that have the highest dividend yield on the S&P 100, and there they are. So it's just a fantastic tool. You have 2 instances of TradeVision, so if you want to dock these on multiple monitors, I just drag it out and I'm done. I've got 2 TradeVisions. You can see it off to the side here. Let me plug something into this one. All right, so see how I've got, this is difficult to see, I've got 2 of them running. I can be scanning for multiple at the same time. I just put that on. If I have another window, an active trader, I probably have more than 1 monitor. So it's just really cool stuff you could do. And it's very feature rich. All of these fundamentals are available in Wizard Lab. One thing I want you to note, however, is that we're using a current data API for the fundamentals. We're actually going to improve on that in a little while. But when you run back tests, let's say you build a rule that has the fundamentals. Just keep in mind that when I look at these fundamentals, such as dividend yield that I was looking at, you can plug this into your rule. That's going to apply to trade optics and RTS trading, right? So all of your real-time scans, your real-time trading, you can use these fundamentals for. They will work in backtest. However, it's not historical in backtest, right? So just bear in mind, there's a little note here about what's available in backtest. historic fundamentals are not available in backtest. We think that we're going to be able to provide that in the near future, but right now it's a current data API, which is extremely useful for your scans and your active trading anyway. So keep that in mind. There have been a lot of improvements to the backtest. It's more robust. And there's actually a lot more that we plan on doing with the backtest as well. So just keep in mind, there's a lot coming. There's a lot that we're working on, and I hope that you take advantage of this extremely powerful system because there's a lot that you can do. So I'm going to sign off by saying, as always, I am Bryan Wagner, Chief Architect of Prodigio RTS. Thanks for joining me today. Join us next week where we'll have another chat, talk about other various features of Prodigio and how it ties together. Join us on the web, twitter.com/wizardlab and www.prodigiorts.net. We always have a lot to talk about, and I hope that you gain a little something from each one of these chats every time. All the chats are archived in the video archives on the website. Request Prodigio activation. That email is support@thinkorswim.com. Questions can be sent to prodigio@thinkorswim.com. And of course, join us here in the chat where you can always ask questions and get advice, etc. So that's a wrap for this week, and thanks for joining me, everyone. Great trading. Enjoy the new release, and I hope you all take care. All right, see you next week. Goodbye.